Welcome to the Spiritual and Empowerment Living with Tia podcast, a sacred place and resource for spiritually centered women who want to go from the mundane to the magical life, for overcoming fear and doubt, reconnecting with the goddess, understanding messages from spirit, and uncovering your spiritual gifts so you can finally live the life you deserve. All right, here we go. The first new moon of the year, and it's in Capricorn. Let's get to it. All right, now I sound like Chris Como. Let's get after it. Let's get to it. So in case you haven't noticed, I cracked myself up. I like these telescopes, and it's been fun to break this down as best I can. And you guys are clearly showing me that you like it as well. It's interesting how these energies, and I know I've been saying energies a lot, but it's true how these energies just play such a huge part in our lives. So if you're new to these telescopes, this is me doing some research and breaking the whole what the heck is going on with the planetary zodiac energies, just breaking it down because it can be a lot, reading it. And I'm definitely not an expert in astrology or astronomy, but I can pull some information and repackage it, for the lack of better words, to present to you to save you some time. Okay. And I post my reference links that you can look at during your free time. All right. And I started doing this because, well, myself included, between the people I worked with and myself, we were just dealing with a lot of energies. Okay. A lot of empaths, lots of clear sentience, and that not knowing is a killer. That not knowing of what energy is happening, like what's going on. Is it a solar flare? Is it an eclipse? Oh, it's a new moon. Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, what's the energy of that? Oh, is it Mercury retrograde, full moon? What the heck? You see what I'm saying? It piles up. So I started adding this to the show. Okay. Originally, I was just doing 4 shows a month. That's once a week. And I decided, for my spiritual and empowerment living community, to do this, to help you with the energies that are around you, what's impacting you, help you understand why did you get that wacky dream on that day? Well, it could be due to some planetary thing. Maybe not, but let's take a look at it. Okay. So that's where this stems from. Now, I have here. All right, I was just rechecking my notes because I'm recording this ahead of time. So this episode, okay, cool. All right, I just had to check my notes. All right, cool. So you can go to the blog to look at the full and new moon dates for 2021, of course, and then a solar and lunar eclipse dates for 2021. Okay. I use Trello, me and my project manager and I was looking at the dates, and I wanted to double check to make sure that this episode came out after the blog post, because what help would I be if I say, yeah, check out the blog post for the full and new moon dates, and then they aren't there. So you're getting real time information here. You guys are like family at this point. So, sometimes you have that pause where you just got to double check, and I'm letting you know what's going on. I'm just being transparent. Okay. So yeah, there are 2 separate blog posts. I was going to make it one, then I thought, let's keep the eclipses on one blog post, and I'll talk about that. And we'll have the new and full moon. I'll talk about that. And it's a really brief talk because I do the telescopes. and it's just way too much information to put on one blog post. New moon and full moon and everything I talk about in Scope, forget about it. So I have the dates listed there. The zodiac sign is in the month. You'll see. And I address some questions too. A main question I get is, can I do a spell on the eclipse day? You can. Just be aware that you have to be prepared for the consequences because the energy is really, I don't even want to say chaotic. It's a lot. It's, imagine you are hosting a birthday party for your child and your child tells you, I want to invite everyone in my class and there's 25 kids. And you're like, you can, but I don't want to chaperone this by myself. You know, it's like that. It's a lot of energy. You could do it, but just know the energy you're dealing with. Okay. And that's probably the best way to describe it. So check out those two posts and bookmark it so that way you can always refer to it and then become prepared when you need to get yourself ready for those moon phases. All right. I'm just going to go straight to the, actually, sorry, before I go straight to that, if you haven't already, send an email. Let's book your goddess reading. It's so much fun. I really do enjoy doing readings. And I had got a reading recently, and I talked about this in the previous episode, between the spiritual counsel, the reader, and myself, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, all right, I'll do it again. I don't know how long I want to have this open, but a goddess reading with me is a coaching session that happens to involve a reading. And that's the best way I can describe it. We're going to have a conversation, answer your questions, and we're going to map out a few things. So, email me to book your reading and see if this is a good fit for you. And I look forward to helping you along your spiritual path by channeling goddess messages. All right. So we have the new moon in Capricorn. Oh, my email, tia@tiamariejohnson.com. And that will be in the description of this episode. All right. New moon in Capricorn. I'm thinking about the Capricorn zodiac sign because, one, I don't know much about Capricorn. I had to do a little bit of research, which I love to do. I like research. And I'm also thinking about this new moon phase, hence the pause. It's the first new moon of the year, and new moon represents beginnings. Okay. It's a square one position looking to make it to the full moon, the however many days it takes to get to the full moon. So square one, square two would be the days, so to speak. And I'm thinking how this plays into the new year energy. I mean, here it is. It's the 13th day of the new year. 13 is the goddess number. Okay. And we are looking for a sense of newness. Okay. A lot of stuff been going down, and we need that dust to clear. We need healing to happen, the dust to clear. We need clarity. There's a lot of things that need to happen. So let's dive into this. I've been going back to, and I'm probably going to use this website going forward because I really like the information here on astrologyking.com. I'm even amazed that this post is even up because I'm recording way ahead of time. So I was delighted, to say the least. So I'm using astrologyking.com, and then also to look up traits of Capricorn, I'm at astrology-zodiac signs.com, and both links will be in the description of this episode. Okay. So let's look at the zodiac of Capricorn. And I like doing this because there are so many ways we can take on new moon energy, which is why I tell you, cross-reference, do your own, research. Definitely don't let me be your single venue for information, because I'm one person looking at it from one angle. And I like to look at the day the new moon falls on as well, to compare and contrast, see how that works with everything. So here we are with Capricorn, an earth sign. The ruler is Saturn, which is interesting because Saturn is a pretty tough planet, and Earth can be a pretty tough sign. I mean, each sign has its own thing. But when I think of Earth, I think of dense, grounded, firmly planted. And sometimes that can mean that we're not flexible because we're just so deeply rooted in something. And it's not that helpful to be so rooted that we're not going to maybe take constructive criticism. We're not flexible. The list goes on. But again, each element has its own thing. I'm just looking at it as you have your ruler planet Saturn and its earth sign. Wow. All right, Capricorn traits. Strengths include responsible, disciplined, self-control, and good manners. Weaknesses, know-it-all, unforgiving, condescending, expecting the worst. I feel like I talked about this on a previous podcast episode, a previous Tia scope. But that's a quick synopsis of Capricorn, okay? Something brief to introduce you to that zodiac sign. Now, we have moon energy, earth energy, Saturn energy, Wednesday energy, which is the planet of Mercury. And according to Astrology King, Pluto is also heavily influencing this new moon. What the heck? Okay, here we go. Mercury, some of the correspondences include communication, commerce. Think about the winged god, Mercury, travel, science. Okay. Pluto is not, I don't think it's a planet anymore, but I had to look up the celestial body of Pluto. All right. Pluto energy is very subtle, with it being far away from the sun, but it can play an important role influencing the zodiac signs. Pluto symbolizes regeneration, transformation, transformative rebirth. Even if it does not look like it, things will get done with Pluto. And I thought, I know I have seen it somewhere, and I was reminded that Pluto rules the underworld. I'm like, oh yes, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of Hades now. Okay, often allowing us the option to embrace our devilish delights. During a planetary backspin, we can begin growth to areas where we are unsatisfied, such as relationships, sex, money, and work. Allowing oneself to change, to transform, and awaken old yearnings will help soften the Plutonian energy. How about that? What does that mean with Saturn and Mercury? Well, it's stated right here. We can bring growth to areas where we are unsatisfied. What does that translate to? Communication. If it's something that we don't like or not satisfied, what do we have to do? Speak up. Recruit someone to help us relay the message. And Saturn is a hard teacher. Okay, so Saturn is here to teach us about communicating what we are unsatisfied with. Put it into a sentence. Take these paragraphs, if you will, and narrow it down. Remember in grade school where we had to paraphrase and narrow it down, which, by the way, I suck at, in case you haven't noticed, because I'm wordy. Creative writing, I got you. Business writing, I can give you bullet points, but it can be a little rough for me. Communicate where you're unsatisfied. Okay, this is where the transformation will happen. And this will be a hard lesson for you because it's uncomfortable. It's not always comfortable to talk about relationships, sex, money, and work, right? It's almost taboo. So let's go to what the astrology king has to say. By the way, shout out to the astrology king for making it easy to understand. So he has here soul evolution, Capricorn new moon on Wednesday, in conjunction with Pluto. So the spiritual meaning of this new moon relates to soul growth and evolution in response to a crisis. And, I meant to say this in the beginning, but I got really excited to talk about this. So I'm also going to dive into how we are feeling at the time and what we can do about it. Okay. So keep that in mind. This isn't going to be me just regurgitating information. Okay. I'm going to give you some tips. All right. So that growth that happens, the evolution that happens, it tends to happen one or two ways. It's forced, right? There's nothing you can do about it. This growth will happen no matter what. Or there's something that sparks it, something that the people want. Okay. And it has here in response to a crisis. The strongest, okay, so he also has here the January 2021 new moon makes many other planetary aspects. The strongest of these is Mars, which I was saying, square Saturn, which brings frustration and inhibition. Okay. Like I said, there are many planets involved. Let's just start with a few. And he has here Jupiter square Uranus creates tension and sudden change. I don't know what square means, or what I'm gathering here is these energies are uprooting tensions and sudden change. It's something that was already just below the surface, and these planets are bringing it up and out. Okay, which is why that soul growth and evolution is happening. This is something that needs to come out. And as I was saying before, new moon represents the beginning. And whenever there's a beginning, there's an ending. Just like when I was saying with the winter solstice, December 21st, it's the darkest day of the year, but also it's a celebration of light coming back. There's an ending and a beginning. Anytime an ending is being celebrated, a beginning is also being celebrated. Okay. Now, 28-day cycle for this, for the moon phases. So if you want to look at it this way, you can give yourself 28 days to get that frustration out, work towards that goal of that evolution and so forth. Now, would it take you a little bit longer to achieve past 28 days? It's a possibility, but it's always good to set some kind of time frame so you don't have this ongoing thing happening. You can hold yourself accountable. Also, as a side note, this is across the board. With any new moon, this is a great chance for you to do shadow work, because new moon, also known as dark moon, is a representative of darkness. The shadows are in the darkness, and it's something that we need to bring to the light. It's not a bad thing. It's just things that we might have suppressed, things that we are unaware of, our subconscious, that just needs to be addressed. So the more self work and reflection we do, that's how we learn about things that we need to address that maybe we thought we took care of, but it's coming back around. Um, Other things, such as we achieved a lot of great things. Now we're at the next level of something. And then there's shadow work there, such as imposter syndrome. You work so hard to get this achievement, and now you're on to something else, next level. And now you might be thinking, but should I be here? I don't know. I mean, I know I got that award, but that was that. This is this, right? So a little bit of shadow work there. That's something that can always be done. Now, how are you feeling? What's going on? I understand that for a lot of people, this can be a case by case basis. So anytime you're seeing things like this is usually an overarching theme. And then when we look at it closely, say a person's astrological chart, or just get to know them a little bit, then we can say, oh, this is exactly what's happening to you because you're being impacted by this planet in particular, this zodiac in particular, because you guys share the same ruling planet or something like that. So when you hear what I'm about to say, you think, yeah, that kind of sort of, yeah, I can see that. That's one reason why, because again, it's a case by case basis. Another thing, too, is that it hasn't hit you yet. Okay, you might feel it tomorrow. Okay, and of course the list goes on, but those are really two main things. So looking at this, there's a lot of emphasis on communication, but an ongoing issue that will open up opportunities for development. So it's almost as if something gets shaken up and it's like all hell breaks loose. And I'm not saying this to scare you. What I'm saying is, sometimes it could be that the printer's not working and the system's slow when someone didn't show up for a meeting and it's just like, oh, what is going on? Not too serious, but it's just a couple of things that just irritated you. That's what is being said here and or stated here in so many ways. The frustration aspect, okay, that issue with communication, but good communication can happen. And from this frustration and inhibition comes, that tension, but that need for sudden change. And that's when the development comes in, that opportunity, because once we have several issues pop up that just irritate us, it frustrates us, we start looking for solutions. We're not going to keep doing the same little bubblegum fix, patching it up, little band-aid fix. It's like, no, we need to find a solution. And that's what you're feeling here. There's a solution that needs to happen. There's some harmonizing that needs to happen. Something needs to happen that needs to be towards the right direction. Okay. So when you are feeling this way, you're feeling frustrated, you're trying to communicate certain things, you're not really understanding why these things are popping up, just know that when stuff like this happens, it is for development. Because sometimes we get really comfortable energetic wise and our higher self or spirit or, whatever the case may be, steps in sometimes and sort of pushes us to go in the directions we're meant to go. And you hear this so often. For example, you hear about someone who got fired from their job or someone who had applied for a job. They thought they were a shoe-in, but they didn't get the job. They get fired. And they go through a rough patch. I'm not going to overlook that. Like I said, I will not do a spiritual bypassing like, oh, and then they just became an entrepreneur and then they made six figures in 1 year. Okay. They go through a bit of a rough patch. Oh my gosh, I don't have the job. I didn't get the job. What I'm going to do. But then something happens where they do take that leap of faith sometimes to become an entrepreneur, or they apply for a different job, which is even better with higher pay and more benefits. And so what I'm saying is when certain things happen that don't pan out, that don't work, and you get frustrated and you're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? It drives you to a different direction and it creates opportunities from that frustration. Whereas you probably would have said, oh, yeah, I got the job, and you would have been comfortable but unhappy. Instead, you didn't get the job. So you push harder for what you want. you got fired and it felt terrible and horrible and you had to be in your zone for a little while to regroup, and then you did and you push harder because you don't want to get fired again. Okay. And it could be like I was saying, you become an entrepreneur and then you help secure people's jobs. Okay. So that's the feeling, that sense that it's like that tension, that buildup is just under the surface and finally is busting through the seams. Okay. That's the feeling. All right. And here's the quick summary. The January 13th new moon is extremely intense and complex. The intensity comes not only from the conjunction to Pluto, but from 4 other conjunctions and 6 square aspects. We didn't even get into all that. It's a lot. You can read up on it, okay? Because the link will be in the description. These aspects and the aspect pattern produces point to a crisis resulting from a combination of unexpected change and buildup of frustration and tension. Makes sense. We have Saturn, we have Earth, we have Pluto and Mercury. It's a lot of lessons need to be learned and things need to come up to the surface. But Venus tries, actually, I'm not even going to read that because that's talking about other planets we're not even going to cover. Okay. And it's stating here that the best time for initiating change and addressing any problems is during the waxing moon phase from January 13th to January 28th, which will lead us to the full moon. Okay, so you have some time to respond. Now, what can you do during this time? I talked about the feelings, that frustration, that like, oh, I'm feeling I'm in a rut. What's going on? Just stuff bubbling just under the surface. Well, there are magical approaches and practical approaches. Okay. Some of the magical approaches you can do is ask spirit, what's the game plan here? What's going on? Not necessarily the why initially, because when we do that, it comes from a why me? Why this is it? Okay. First, look at it as what's the point? What's the end game? What's the reasoning? Okay. That's coming from a shift of perspective. Yeah, you could be angry, you could be annoyed, of course. I mean, that's fine. But we need to be able to receive the message. And the best way we can receive the message is to shift gears a little bit. So you can ask spirit, well, what's the point? What's going on? And then turn on the TV. You'll probably get a message there. Or what tends to happen to me is I'll go to Instagram and I'll boom to see something. And many a times it wasn't that I was going to Instagram to find a message. I happened to go to Instagram and it's like, ooh, that post really spoke to me. Like I felt that jolt in my chest. You know what I'm talking about? That, ooh, it's like, oh wow, that message really hit home. I felt it. That felt like something. Okay, of course you can meditate to get the answers. You can pull oracle cards to understand what's going on. And it's not so much about understanding the full story of what's going on right then and there, because it will be revealed to you over time based on the work, the self-work that you do. This is a time for some insight. Do some work, more insight, do some work. So that way we can reduce the, what's bubbling under the surface, that frustration and stuff like that. Now, I mentioned all that, the meditation, the asking spirit, and then, turn on Instagram, the TV, all that. Of course, you can also shake up your energy by dancing, just get it out your system. Okay. You can also take a shower to just rinse away that residual, energetic debris. Just get it out. Okay. The practical ways you can do, or the practical things you can do, depending on your circumstance, what is it that you need to do that will take you to that opportunistic direction? For example, what I gave you regarding the job, do you need to review your resume? If it's a relationship, as it was stated earlier, what was it? Love, relationship, work. If it's a relationship, what parts are you playing or not playing in that relationship? Do you need to step up your game? This is also about being honest with yourself. Okay. Did you expect more from the relationship than you should have? Were you honest from the beginning? Is the person showing their true colors and is not what you thought it would be? Evaluate the relationship. Take the time to understand what's going on, what you want from that situation or people, and then ask yourself, is this where I want to be? Is this something that I can correct? Is there something that I need to move forward in, where maybe we involve a therapist? Or if that's not an option, is it time for me to move on? Because remember, it's that evolution part. Let's not forget that. Let me scroll up real quick here. We have that evolution. Soul growth and evolution. Okay. So maybe it's time to evolve. Maybe you've outgrown the relationship, that career, and it's time to shift the gears. Okay. So those are some of the things you could do, magical and practical. All right. Whew, that was a lot. Happy new moon. All right. Get some sleep, drink plenty of water. Okay. Pay attention to your dreams. Get a dream journal where you can write down your dreams. Okay. And I will see you in the next episode. Take care. I'm rooting for you. I'm sending you so many blessings. And remember to be kind to yourself. As always, Spiritual Trailblazer, thank you for tuning in. Do make sure to stop by and visit me at tiamariejohnson.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Last but not least, be kind to yourself. I'm rooting for you, and I'm sending you so many blessings. Until next time.